Hello once again. Welcome to EDTECH537 Blogging in the Classroom. This is the introductory video for week 7. So we have 3/4 of the course behind us and only a quarter or 25% of the course left. The first thing I want to do this week, and it's something that I don't normally do in these videos, but I want to go back and talk a little bit more about last week's blogging. Now, when I sort of introduced it in the introductory video for week 6, it may not have made as much sense to folks because, you hadn't gone through the activity yet. But again, one of the reasons why we introduced it in week 6 is to get you ready for that classroom blogging activity that you're going to be completing at the end of week 8. So again, you're looking at sort of 3 models on how you might want to implement blogging within your own educational context. So, you could essentially post a prompt on your blog and have your learners respond to that prompt on their own individual blogs. And that was the first activity that you undertook last week. The second way in which you can go about doing it is you can post a prompt onto your blog and all of the learners would comment on that entry on your blog. So it would be almost like using your blog sort of as a discussion forum if you think about more of a traditional threaded discussion forum where you've got a prompt there and you've got everyone who answers it right underneath kind of model. And then obviously the third model, which is the third blogging activity you undertook last week, is the notion of essentially having a single blog, but instead of you being the sole author of that blog, all of your learners have access to author to that blog. So when you post a prompt to that blog, as I did last week with the Russell Street School activity that you guys undertook, each learner then posts their response as an entry to that single blog. So you've got like this class blog that everyone contributes to. So there are 3 models, size up each of the ones. Think about how you felt as a learner participating in each of them. Think about some of the possibilities, strengths, and weaknesses about going about doing it that way as an instructor, and then move forward with that as you sort of plan out your classroom blogging activity for the end of week 8. So looking at this particular week, there are 2 readings, which I think there have been 2 readings since, I guess, about week 2 in the class. And in this case, they're actually both by the same group of authors, the same research team out of the UK, if I remember correctly. And they're articles that have been published essentially 1 year apart. And so there are 2 studies that were probably likely done 1 year apart. Now, as you read through these, what I would do is I would skim through the introductions, maybe read the literature review a little bit more carefully, but still kind of skim through the methodology. It's really the findings section in both articles that I want you to sort of pay attention to, because in both cases, they sort of give you a sense as to how a group of, in this case, actually in both cases, university students used their blogs when they were introduced by an instructor. So you're looking at a higher ed context, not a K-12 context. We've sort of shifted more towards the higher ed realm in the last couple of weeks. But these are folks that are being introduced to it, and you get to see that sort of, how was the blog used? And again, this is keeping in that idea of working towards that classroom blogging activity. So if you look at your actual application last week, the practice that you did, if you will, we looked at 3 different models and to give you a sense as to which ones might work in your environment. Now, the readings this week are designed to sort of, again, give you a sense as to, here's how a group of students, actually 2 groups of students, 1 group in each of the 2 studies, used blogs when they were introduced by their instructor. And you'll note, like in, for example, the second article, the 2008 article, one of the things that they found was that there were 2 students in the class that basically just didn't use the blogs at all. They felt that the blogs didn't offer them any enhanced learning opportunities, and they were more comfortable with the traditional methods of learning and traditional learning activities that they had been undertaking along the way. And you might meet some of that resistance in your own students. So, when you look at both of these articles, it's really the finding sections in both of them that I want you to sort of read carefully, as well as the conclusion sections, because, the findings sort of give you, this is what we found with the raw data kind of thing. These were the themes that came out of it. But the conclusion section is more along the lines, and to a lesser extent the discussion section, how the authors sort of made sense and what they took away from those findings. So those are the parts as you're looking through that, I want you to sort of really pay attention to. Now, in terms of our actual blogging this week, we're going to transition back to doing different types of entries on our own blogs. In this case, if I remember correctly, in Moodle, they're called the bells and whistles blogging, because it's not necessarily a type of blog entry in terms of, what it is you're looking to accomplish. Are you trying to, generate a discussion? Are you trying to post a group of links or a list? Or are you, trying to comment on something or provide an opinion about something? In this case, you can do any of those things, but we're actually starting to introduce media into your entries. So instead of just being text-based entries, how can we enhance those text-based entries with the use of media? So in this case, this week, you're going to post 4 blog entries. The first one is going to be a blog entry of any type about anything you'd like. That includes an image. The second one is going to be a blog entry of any type about anything that you want. That includes some audio that you've embedded into it. The third one is similarly a blog of any type, an entry of any type that focuses upon any topic, but that includes a video embedded in there. And last but not least, the fourth one is an entry on any topic that embeds a poll into it. Now, the audio and the video, and for that matter, the image, don't necessarily have to be things that you create yourself. In fact, unless you're sort of a little bit savvy with those kind of things, what I'd encourage you to do is go out and find something that has already been created for you that you can embed into the system. So instead of actually going and creating an audio file that you embed in there, creating a video that you embed in there, going to YouTube or going to iTunes and finding a podcast that you could embed in, or, on YouTube finding a video that you can embed in, or going to one of those Creative Commons links that I posted in Moodle that you could then include, an image in. And right now, you've got a number of polling features. I know if you're using WordPress and I think EduBlogs, they have native polling features in there now, although you can still use something like Poll Daddy or Poll Anywhere, those types of tools in your system. That's what I started using before WordPress actually had a native tool, and it's what I continue to use, to be perfectly honest with you, just because, it's what I've always done. But that's entirely up to you how you go about it. It's a way of trying to, explore how you can do a little bit more with your blog entries other than just putting text in there. So that's it for week 7. As always, if you want to get a hold of me, feel free to email me, telephone me, or try to catch me on Skype. And as always, email is the best way of trying to get me. And I look forward to seeing some of the things that you include in your entries this week, now that we're starting to put some additional bells and whistles into each of those entries.